Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that a single algorithm has just quietly bought up every available home in your neighborhood,
Yeah.
like locking in a reality where you and your kids are just permanent renters.
Which is a terrifying thought.
It really is. And then imagine that at the exact same time, a swarm of autonomous software agents has started quietly doing all the core functions of your career.
Right. Just rendering your specific expertise totally obsolete.
Exactly. Completely obsolete. And finally, imagine that the proposed solution to this creeping dystopia isn't some new government regulation or policy.
No, it's actually an ancient spiritual prophecy.
Right. So we are excavating a really fascinating digital artifact today from Saturday, May 2, 2026, that argues exactly that. Our mission today is a full forensic deep dive into a remarkably complex worldview, which is preserved perfectly on this one honestly chaotic webpage.
Chaotic is definitely the word for it. The artifact we're looking at is a blog post by an author named Paramendra Kumar Bhagat. And the post is titled, Not Capital, Not Technology, but Putting Humanity at the Center.
Catchy title.
Yeah, but the text itself is like only half the story here.
Yeah.
Because the architecture of the web page it's sitting on is this sprawling, dizzying ecosystem.
Oh, it's overwhelming.
It really is. You're looking at these sidebars that are just densely packed with live tech news feeds from 2026, real-time crypto market updates, broken video links embedded right into philosophical manifestos.
Yeah, and that massive bibliography.
Right. A truly massive bibliography of the author's own published works. I mean, we're talking everything from science fiction to hardcore geopolitical strategy. So the visual chaos of the page kind of mirrors the precise global tension of that exact moment it was captured.
Okay, let's unpack this, because looking at this specific snapshot, it acts as a perfect microcosm for the collective anxiety and the technological whiplash of 2026.
Absolutely.
The author kicks off his core argument by pointing to two massive systemic forces that are actively pushing humanity out of the center of civilization.
He doesn't hold back.
No, he doesn't vaguely allude to them at all. He actually names the specific avatars of these forces. So, financial capital is embodied by the asset management firm BlackRock, and surveillance technology is embodied by the data analytics firm Palantir.
Yeah, and the critique he leverages against BlackRock is it's particularly surgical.
How so?
Well, he describes the firm not as a collection of human bankers sitting in a room making choices, but explicitly as a giant computer.
A giant computer.
Right. He is pointing directly at the mechanics of algorithmic capital. Because when a firm manages trillions of dollars in assets, investment strategy it ceases to be a human endeavor.
It's just math at that point.
Exactly. It becomes a pure, unadulterated optimization problem. The underlying algorithms are programmed with one singular directive, which is to fulfill the fiduciary duty to maximize return on investment.
Right, and empathy isn't really a computable metric, is it?
Not at all. The algorithm does not factor in, the sociological decay of a neighborhood or the psychological toll on a family that's losing the prospect of homeownership.
It just sees an asset class, like single-family homes. And it calculates that converting those properties into a bundled, recurring revenue stream of rent is just going to yield a fractionally higher, more stable dividend.
Yeah, it's terrifyingly efficient.
It's like playing Monopoly against a supercomputer, right?
Oh, yeah.
One that can calculate the probability of dice rolls 1,000 turns in advance.
That's a really good analogy.
Because it doesn't harbor any malice toward you. It just mathematically knows that buying Boardwalk and putting a hotel on it is the most efficient vector to bankrupt you. And the author writes, very ominously, and it is doing it.
Precisely. And this is where we really have to understand the transition from human capital to post-human capital. The author is highlighting a system operating entirely on autopilot, completely indifferent to human flourishing.
And then he pivots and applies that exact same mechanistic critique to Palantir.
Right, which represents the technological vector.
Yeah. He argues that if the data integration techniques Palantir uses for, say, immigration enforcement were applied to everyday citizens for something as mundane as speeding tickets, the American public would absolutely revolt.
It would.
So let's drill down into the mechanics of that, because the word surveillance gets thrown around so much. I mean, we all know we're being tracked.
Yeah.
But the author is pointing to a very specific kind of data integration. How does a system like Palantir actually function under the hood to warrant this level of alarm?
Well, it functions through what is called ontology-based data integration.
Ontology-based?
Yeah. So most data in the world is totally unstructured and siloed. Like your bank has your transaction records, The Department of Motor Vehicles has your license plate scans.
Hmm.
Social media platforms have your social graph.
Right, all separate.
Exactly.
But a platform like Palantir ingests all of those completely disparate data formats and maps them onto a dynamic graph.
It turns these isolated, meaningless data points into interconnected nodes and edges. It reveals these invisible patterns of human behavior, predicting where someone might go, who they might associate with, and what they might do next.
So if that ontology mapping were applied to traffic enforcement, it wouldn't just be a camera flashing when you go over the speed limit.
Not at all.
The system would cross-reference your geolocation data, automatically deduct the fine from your digital bank account.
Flag your insurance provider to raise your premium.
Right. And perhaps even log a behavioral demerit if you were driving to a location the algorithm deemed statistically risky.
It's panoptic.
It really sounds like the author is describing a world where we're all just NPCs, right? Like non-player characters in a video game.
Correct.
And BlackRock and Palantir are the source code dictating the actual boundaries of our reality.
That's exactly the vibe.
But here is the massive contradiction that's just staring me in the face on this webpage. This exact same author repeatedly mentions an impending age of abundance.
He does.
So how can the same underlying compute power that is driving us toward this algorithmic dystopia simultaneously be the engine of human salvation? Like, how does that work?
What's fascinating here is the ideological and spiritual framework the author constructs to reconcile that paradox.
Oh, spiritual.
Yeah. He completely bypasses traditional economic critique and elevates this whole thing to a theological battle. The text explicitly defines the algorithmic extraction of wealth and the normalization of this panoptic surveillance as antichrist tendencies the scriptures warn us about.
Wow. Antichrist tendencies.
Yeah, it's intense.
That phrase carries an incredible amount of weight. It completely strips away the sterile corporate jargon, market efficiencies and data synergies, and it frames the behavior of these companies as fundamentally metaphysically evil.
Right, and by using that eschatological language, he raises the stakes. This isn't a debate about regulatory policy anymore. It's a debate about the survival of the human soul.
He's constructing a binary timeline, essentially.
Exactly. In one timeline, the optimization algorithms fully detach from human well-being, resulting in the Antichrist dystopia.
And the other.
In the alternative timeline, the massive productive capacity of artificial intelligence is harnessed. It's redirected to fulfill ancient scriptural prophecies of a golden age, what he calls the age of abundance.
So he's suggesting that technology itself is morally neutral.
Yes, but the operating system governing it will determine the fate of the species.
Okay, so if you are going to diagnose a problem as systemic and apocalyptic as the literal Antichrist manifesting in corporate data centers, your proposed solution cannot be a minor tax reform.
Definitely not.
And looking at the text, his proposal is incredibly radical. He argues that AI tech entrepreneurs must voluntarily surrender 10% ownership of their companies to a centralized foundation.
Voluntarily.
Right. And the mandate of this foundation is exceptionally narrow and pragmatic. Like, it is not designed to build bureaucratic NGOs or fund endless layers of middle management.
No, the stated goal is the absolute eradication of global poverty.
Just that simple.
Yeah, through direct, engineered cash transfers targeting the poorest 20% of the global population.
And he specifically mentions utilizing the Aadhaar UPI framework to execute these transfers. But we know that scaling universal basic income globally has historically been an absolute logistical nightmare.
Oh, a total nightmare.
You've got local corruption, lack of banking infrastructure, the sheer friction of moving fiat currency across borders. So how does the system he is referencing actually bypass all those hurdles?
Well, the mechanism is what makes the proposal theoretically viable. Aadhaar UPI is the foundational layer of India's digital public infrastructure.
Okay.
Aadhaar provides a unique biometric digital identity to over 1 billion people. It's basically a mathematical hash of your fingerprints and irises, and it's linked to a permanent ID number.
Wow, okay.
And then UPI, the Unified Payments Interface, sits right on top of that. That allows for instant, zero-fee transfer of value directly between bank accounts or digital wallets via mobile devices.
So you completely eliminate the middleman.
Like-
You don't need a physical bank branch in some rural village. You don't need local officials distributing paper currency, which is, where the corruption inevitably happens anyway.
Right. You authenticate your identity with your biometric signature, and the foundation just beams the equity dividend directly to your digital device.
That's wild. And the author writes that where this framework does not exist, the foundation's first priority is to literally build it.
Yeah, it's the engineering of a global financial floor.
But hold on a second. Let's look at the actual feasibility of this from a corporate governance perspective.
So let's do it.
If I am the CEO of an AI behemoth, let's say a company approaching a multi-trillion-dollar market cap, my legal fiduciary duty is strictly to my shareholders.
Yes, it is.
I cannot legally just slice off 10% of the company's equity and donate it to a spiritual UBI foundation without triggering an immediate catastrophic shareholder lawsuit.
You'd be sued into oblivion.
Right. So how does he propose bypassing basic corporate law?
The author actually demonstrates a highly pragmatic understanding of corporate power structures here. He proposes splitting the shares.
Splitting them.
Yeah. The text explicitly states, billionaires should consume all they want. You need the voting power to run your company, so keep it. But give away the wealth part to that foundation.
Ah, dual-class stock structures.
Precisely.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, in dual-class structures, which are commonly used by tech founders to retain control after going public, Class B shares might carry 10 votes per share, while Class A shares carry 1 vote, but hold the economic value.
So he is suggesting a massive coordinated segregation of economic rights from voting rights.
Right. The founders keep the steering wheel. They maintain absolute dictatorial control over the direction of the AI development, but they siphon off 10% of the economic engine to fund the human floor.
It's a fascinating idea, like a tech bro version of tithing. But even with a clever dual-class stock maneuver, what is the actual psychological or economic incentive for a founder to do this?
That's the big question.
Because tech titans aren't exactly known for spontaneously surrendering hundreds of billions of dollars in personal wealth just because a blogger asked nicely.
No, they're really not. But if we connect this to the bigger picture laid out in the final sentence of his core post, the incentive is raw survival.
Survival.
He warns that without this wealth transfer, we are, quote, speeding to usher in the worst possible existential AI safety scenarios at breakneck speed.
So it's an insurance policy.
It is the ultimate insurance policy.
Okay, break that down for me.
Well, the logic dictates that introducing super-intelligent, autonomous AI into a world defined by extreme inequality and friction is just a recipe for systemic collapse.
Because people will lose their jobs.
Exactly. Desperate populations facing immediate algorithmic obsolescence will rebel. By engineering a stable economic floor for the bottom 20% of the global population, you pacify the systemic volatility.
You're buying peace.
Essentially, yes. You create an environment robust enough to survive the transition into the age of abundance. He is framing the 10% tithe not as charity, but as the mandatory cost of preventing civilization from burning down around the data centers.
This synthesis of hypercapitalism, like letting founders retain total monopolistic control of their companies with aggressive, globally mandated wealth redistribution, is a completely unique paradigm.
It's a wild mix.
It really is. So if this guy is proposing a global techno-spiritual wealth redistribution framework to save us from algorithmic doom, my immediate question is, who is this person?
Right.
Like, what qualifies someone to draft a new operating system for humanity?
Well, to map the mind of Paramendra Phogat, we have to pull back and examine the bibliography spanning the sidebar of the page.
Right, it's all those links.
Yeah. The sheer volume and velocity of his output is staggering. The archive drop-down reveals a history of obsessive documentation dating back to 2005.
Yeah, I was looking at the peak metrics on that. In the year 2011 alone, the archive logs 11,178 individual posts.
It's unbelievable.
That is more than 3 essays a day, every single day, for a year.
That volume indicates a mind attempting to process global transformation in real time. But the thematic diversity of his published books is really what reveals the architecture of his worldview. We can categorize the bibliography into 3 distinct pillars.
Okay, let's go through them. The first pillar seems to be deeply technical analysis of emerging industries. We see titles like Lumina AI, The Trillion-Dollar Sun, and Liquid Computing, The Future of Human-Tech Symbiosis.
And precigenetics, the technology that lets us watch life think.
Right, they read like white papers meant for venture capitalists.
Exactly. But then the second pillar completely pivots into speculative fiction and narrative world-building.
Yeah, the sci-fi stuff.
Like The Country of Geniuses, A Race Through AI Adolescence, and the novel Gen Z Kranti.
And Gen Z Kranti is specifically listed as being available in Mathili, Hindi, and Nepali, so he isn't just writing for the Silicon Valley echo chamber.
No, he's actively translating his speculative futures into the linguistic frameworks of South Asia.
Which seamlessly transitions into the third pillar, which is hardcore geopolitical and macroeconomic policy design.
Yes. Things like the $500 billion pivot, how the India-US alliance can reshape global trade.
And highly specific local policy proposals, too, like free education and healthcare for all in Nepal by way of a referendum, and the 20% growth revolution, Nepal's path to prosperity.
He is basically operating as a one-man think tank.
Seriously,
Yeah.
he's writing textbooks on AI marketing one day and sci-fi novels about subcontinent uprisings the next. It's like he's trying to build a new operating system for society and using every possible medium to upload it to us.
That's a great way to put it. He identifies the technological vectors in his white papers, simulates their societal impact in his science fiction, and then drafts the actual legislative policy required to manage the fallout.
But there is a recurring kernel of code running through all these different mediums. It shows up in titles like Kalkism, the economic and spiritual blueprint for an age of abundance.
Yes, Kalkism.
So what exactly is Kalkiism, and how does it act as the glue for this entire worldview?
So, Kalkiism draws upon Hindu eschatology.
Okay.
In the cyclical nature of time described in Hindu texts, we're currently residing in the Kali Yuga.
Which is what?
It's the darkest age, characterized by moral decay, strife, and societal collapse.
Sounds about right.
Right. But the prophecy states that when the Kali Yuga reaches its absolute nadir, the god Vishnu will manifest in his 10th and final avatar, Lord Kalki.
And Kalki is the figure who wields the sword, cleanses the earth of darkness, and restarts the cycle, right?
Well, it's like...
Ushering in the Satya Yuga, the golden age of truth and abundance.
Exactly. So, but God is utilizing this ancient theological framework to process the trauma of radical technological disruption.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because throughout history, societies have continually used myth and religion to domesticate forces they cannot control.
Right.
By mapping the AI revolution onto the Kalki prophecy, he provides a psychological safety net. The terrifying disruption of algorithmic capital isn't just random chaos. It is the necessary destruction at the end of the Kali Yuga.
Ah. And the resulting superintelligence isn't an alien threat.
No, it is the mechanism by which the Satya Yuga, the age of abundance, is realized. Kalkiism is his proposed philosophy for aligning the deployment of AI with spiritual justice.
He even has a post titled, "The most awaited person in human history is here," paired with another clarifying, Kalkiism is not communism.
Right, he's very clear about that.
It is a deliberate attempt to brand a new post-capitalist, post-communist economic theory.
Yes.
So we have this polymath author who has spent 2 decades predicting the explosion of artificial intelligence, drafting the geopolitical policy to manage it, and creating a spiritual framework to survive it.
It's quite a resume.
It really is. But the obvious question becomes, if we look at the actual live news feeds populating the sidebars of this page on May 2, 2026, are his prophecies actually coming true?
Well, the live headlines provide a stunning real-time validation of his core thesis. Yeah, because the AI being deployed in the spring of 2026 is fundamentally different from the generative chatbots the public grew accustomed to in the early 2020s. Bhagat has a book titled Agentic AI Set to Explode in 2026.
And the news feeds.
The news feeds confirm the explosion has detonated.
We see a headline from Microsoft announcing AI Agent 365 is now generally available. We're extending the systems customers already use to every AI agent and their interactions across the enterprise.
Right.
NVIDIA announces Nimatron Labs, what OpenClaw agents mean for every organization. Salesforce launches Agent Force Operations to fix the workflows breaking enterprise AI.
It's everywhere.
We've all seen the shift from basic generative tools to agentic AI, but the speed of these enterprise rollouts it changes the labor dynamic entirely.
Yeah.
How does this specific blog capture that tipping point?
We really have to clearly define the mechanical leap from generative to agentic here.
Okay, let's do that.
Generative AI is like a passive oracle. You prompt it, and it predicts the next sequence of tokens to write a poem or generate a block of code.
Right, but it needs you.
Exactly. It requires a human in the loop to guide it, evaluate its output, and apply it.
And agentic AI.
Agentic AI removes the human from the loop. An agent possesses perception, memory, planning capabilities, and the actual authority to take action.
So we're no longer just talking to the computer, we're giving it a corporate credit card and a desk.
That's a perfect way to phrase it.
Yeah.
You do not prompt it to write code. You assign it a high-level objective, like optimize our supply chain logistics for Q3.
And it just does it.
The agent autonomously breaks that goal down into subtasks, communicates with other software APIs, executes trades, signs contracts, and iteratively adjusts its strategy based on real-world feedback.
Which brings us right back to his terrifying critique of BlackRock.
Yes, it does.
Because if these autonomous agents are being handed the keys to enterprise workflows, does the algorithmic optimization of capital get 1,000 times faster?
Exponentially faster.
If BlackRock's giant computer isn't just analyzing data, but actively deploying swarms of autonomous agents to execute trades, acquire assets, and restructure debt without human oversight, the extraction of wealth from the human layer becomes blisteringly efficient.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that is the precise existential AI safety scenario the 10% Foundation is meant to mitigate.
Because we wouldn't be able to keep up.
Not even close. When autonomous agents control the levers of the global economy, the velocity of capital moves faster than human regulatory bodies can comprehend, let alone legislate.
But looking at these headlines, humanity isn't just passively accepting obsolescence. There is a headline from TechCrunch that acts as a fascinating counterweight. AI-generated actors and scripts are now ineligible for Oscars.
I love that headline. That headline is the literal institutional manifestation of putting humanity at the center.
It really is. The Academy is drawing a hard, unyielding boundary. They are stating that the intrinsic value of cinema is not the visual fidelity or the narrative structure, but the human suffering, joy, and lived experience embedded within the creation.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if an OpenClaw agent can generate a mathematically perfect screenplay.
Right. If it lacks a human soul, it is disqualified from the highest cultural validation.
It is an attempt to ring-fence human exceptionalism.
But even as institutions try to build these defensive walls around our art, other sectors of the tech industry are actively blurring the lines of human connection.
Oh, absolutely.
Because just below the Oscars headline, and Engadget feed reports, OpenAI introduces AI-generated pets for its Codex app.
The cognitive dissonance is staggering.
It is. We are fiercely protecting our prestigious awards from synthetic intrusion, while eagerly downloading synthetic emotional companions to soothe our loneliness.
We are outsourcing our intimacy to the very systems we fear.
And according to the other headlines on this page, the technology isn't just staying on our screens, it is breaching the physical boundary of the human body.
This is where we must examine the biotech sector headlines,
Right.
which correlate directly with his book, Precigenetics, the technology that lets us watch life think.
So what are the headlines saying?
The Vox headline reads, "Some deaf children are hearing again because of a new gene therapy." DeepMind announces an AI co-clinician, and MIT is mapping the brain during sleep.
This represents a massive paradigm shift in the vector of technology.
Yes.
When the author was critiquing Palantir, he was critiquing somatic surveillance, like technology observing us from the outside, tracking our movements, reading our bank statements.
Yes, external optimization.
But precigenetics, AI co-clinicians, and CRISPR gene therapies represent internal optimization.
Right.
The algorithmic intelligence is no longer just predicting our behavior, it is rewriting our biological source code.
Which is incredible, but also daunting.
It is. It is curing deafness, which is an undeniable miracle of the age of abundance. But it raises a profound ethical and economic question.
What's that?
If an AI model owned by a multi-trillion-dollar corporation designs the gene therapy that cures your child's deafness, who owns the biometric data of what that child hears?
Wow.
Does the fiduciary duty to maximize returns eventually extend into the optimized human biology itself?
That is a terrifying thought.
Yeah.
And it raises an important question about the fundamental definition of value in 2026.
Yeah.
If biology is becoming technology and technology is becoming autonomous, how do we structure the economy to support human life?
Right.
Which brings us to the final and perhaps most chaotic ecosystem captured on the page, the blockchain blog sidebar.
The crypto wars of 2026.
Or crypto war.
This section is just a battlefield of competing monetary theories. We have a Bitcoinist headline reporting that ARK Invest projects Bitcoin's market cap will hit $16 trillion by 2030. Cointelegraph reports that stablecoins have overtaken Bitcoin in Latin America for actual purchases. Meanwhile, CoinSpeaker highlights Elon Musk declaring the majority of crypto to be scams, even as his own platform integrates financial news and payment rails.
We are witnessing a three-way collision of monetary operating systems.
Okay, lay them out for me.
The first system is traditional algorithmic fiat, represented by the BlackRock model. It is highly centralized, deeply entrenched with state power, and designed to optimize rent extraction.
Okay, that's one. And the second?
The second system is the decentralized frontier of cryptocurrency. But even that is fracturing.
How so?
Well, you have Bitcoin operating as a speculative digital gold reserve marching towards 16 trillion, but you also have the reality of stablecoins in Latin America.
Right. For listeners not entrenched in crypto mechanics, a stablecoin is a digital token pegged directly to a fiat currency, usually the US dollar. Why are they overtaking Bitcoin in places like Argentina or Venezuela? Because if your local fiat currency is experiencing 100% year-over-year hyperinflation, you don't want a volatile asset like Bitcoin.
Exactly. You can't buy groceries with something that drops 20% in a day.
Right. You want the stability of the US dollar, but you need the censorship-resistant digital rails of the blockchain to access it outside of your failing local banking system.
So crypto offers either extreme speculative volatility or a digital lifeboat for collapsing economies.
Okay, so that's two. What's the third?
The third system is Paramendra Bhagat's Kalkism model.
The foundation.
Yes, a highly centralized, spiritually motivated, algorithmically executed wealth distribution network built on Aadhaar UPI.
And he has a book right there in the sidebar titled Velocity Money, Crypto, Karma, and the End of Traditional Economics. It seems like there's a three-way tug-of-war going on here.
There really is.
Traditional capital like BlackRock, the AI foundation the author proposes, and the chaotic Wild West of crypto. Which one wins?
It is a battle for the base layer of reality. Does BlackRock's supercomputer financialize every aspect of human existence? Does the crypto ecosystem fracture the globe into thousands of competing decentralized microeconomies? Or do the tech elites willingly execute a 10% equity tithe to fund a global spiritual renaissance?
The hardware that these three operating systems are fighting to run on is human society itself.
It's chilling.
It is absolutely exhausting just to conceptualize. Yet, this entire existential war is perfectly encapsulated within the margins of this single digital artifact from May 2, 2026.
It's all right there on the page.
We began our excavation by analyzing a stark warning about the algorithmic forces of BlackRock and Palantir relentlessly stripping human agency away in the pursuit of optimized returns.
Yeah.
We unpacked a radical dual-class stock loophole designed to siphon 10% of global AI wealth into a biometric UBI infrastructure. We mapped the mind of a polymath attempting to merge South Asian eschatology with enterprise software architectures.
It's been quite a journey.
And we surveyed a real-time landscape where autonomous AI agents run corporate supply chains, gene therapies rewrite human biology, and Hollywood desperately tries to build a firewall around the human soul.
It is the ultimate portrait of a species standing at the precipice of its own obsolescence, desperately trying to negotiate the terms of its survival.
So what does this all mean for you? If you are listening to this on your commute, consider the micro agent currently calculating your GPS route.
It is a tiny optimization algorithm.
Right. Now extrapolate that. Imagine that agent isn't just routing your vehicle, but routing the flow of global capital, routing your career trajectory, and routing your biometric health data.
It's already happening.
The struggle to put humanity at the center is not an academic debate confined to science fiction novels. It is the defining friction of your daily reality. Every time you interact with a system, accept a terms of service agreement, or utilize an autonomous tool, you are participating in this massive negotiation.
You really are.
You have to constantly evaluate, is this system serving my humanity, or am I merely data serving this system's optimization?
This raises an important question, one that extends beyond the immediate mechanics of foundations and algorithmic rent.
What's that?
Well, the author proposes a grand, pragmatic compromise. Billionaires retain their voting power. They consume whatever they desire, as long as they surrender a fraction of their economic engine to save the world from an AI safety catastrophe.
Right, the 10% rule.
But if the deployment of autonomous superintelligence truly yields the prophesied age of abundance, if the marginal cost of intelligence, energy, and biological engineering drops to near zero, will the concept of a billionaire even retain any mathematical or social coherence?
Oh, wow.
In a world of infinite engineered abundance, will money itself simply become an obsolete technology?
That is a thought that will absolutely keep you up at night. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of tomorrow. Keep exploring, keep questioning the underlying code of the systems around you, and most importantly, keep yourselves at the center of the story. We'll catch you next time.